Hi there, everybody. Welcome to episode 86 of the Cloud-Based Mayhem. This continues to kind of blow me away. Before we get into the show, a few things of housekeeping. One, got quite a bit of feedback, all good, about the last show, my opener, about the accidents and what was going on in Valle and what I thought were some of the reasons. It's just my opinion, of course, but one of the things I talked about, I felt like maybe required a little bit more expansion because I've gotten some emails about people felt like I should dig into that more. Wing choice. I said that I saw a lot of people flying wings that I thought were well above their level. I think that contributed to the accident ratio and also contributed to quite a bit of sketchiness in the gaggles. You know, we had 130 people on start every day, and actually, 150. And a lot of the people that were flying wings that I felt were a little bit above their level were spending a lot of time looking up at the wings instead of looking around, which makes gaggle flying a little bit scary. And but one of the things I didn't talk about too much was just your own mental bandwidth. When you're flying a wing that's, you maybe don't feel like you've got the hours, or you haven't had the SIV. Anyway, a wing that's definitely above where you personally are. You don't have the bandwidth to, relax, which is really important to fly well, but also just to be, observing everything around you, smoke and wind in the valley and thermals and birds and other pilots. And, the more relaxed you are and the more, stressful the flying is, or the wing that you're flying is, the more confidence you have in your gear, the more confidence you've got in yourself, and you're just going to fly better. So wanted to kind of add that, just be thinking about that. I think the temptation is, that when you go to these races and all the crew that's on the really hot wings, they go on glide and it's just impossible to keep up. But there's a lot of satisfaction to be had in flying a lower level wing and flying it really well. Like I said the last time, like kayaking, you really shouldn't be kayaking class 4 until you're nailing every eddy in class 3. And that's how I kind of think about this. So, I think back to my own progression, and, I was told over and over and over again, like, hey man, you're flying, you really got to back off. You're taking too much risk. But, the first time I went to an END, I'd been flying for many, many years at that point. This was 2011. I went from an Arctic to an Ice Peak 6. That was definitely a big jump. I'd gotten into a World Cup. I got invited to fly here in Sun Valley at the PWC in 2012. I'd only done one comp before that. So yes, that was a big jump. But I had, at least 2,500 hours at that point. I'd done a whole bunch of SIVs, 5, 6, 7 with Jockey and Santa, and a bunch of people, a lot of training over the water, a lot of acro training, and I'd been flying a ton. I think that year I got almost 500 hours before I made that jump. So just in that year. So I'm not saying to follow what I've done by any means, but I was surprised. I was surprised how many people were flying two-liners, how many people had made really big jumps, how many people had not been flying that long and were flying what I see is pretty hot wings. The Zeno for a two-liner is certainly a very stable wing, as is the Peak 4 by Nivic, but they're still two-liners. So anyway, just another shout out there about, respecting these wings and thinking about the choice you're making. The other thing I'm seeing a lot of, and I appreciate Trevor mentioning this, we had a nice email exchange. A lot of people are switching to the lightweight gear, which is great. The lightweight gear is fantastic, and I think the X-Alps has driven a lot of that. But typically when you switch to lightweight gear, you're also giving up a seat board, which we've talked about quite a bit. I think for sure handling your wing is better with a seat board. And you're also giving up a lot of protection, no matter what. When you go to this light stuff, you're just not going to get the back protection. So, for hiking out and for hiking flies, it is fantastic. But just, remember what you're giving up. It's all it's all, there's a lot of give and take there. It's all a compromise. Even going to a pod harness, I know they're sexy and I know they look cool, but if they're more demanding, they're more, you're more likely to get twisted up in a pod harness, and for not a lot of benefit. There is some for sure. If you're doing a lot of racing, then yeah, for sure. But be thinking about that as well. I think a lot of accidents, they could be avoided at least a bit, or a lot of the damage could be avoided quite a bit by just flying safer gear. Greg Hamilton with Flybubble, who's been on the show, put up a great Facebook post that's you'll find in Cloud-Based Mayhem if you just go to Cloud-Based Mayhem on Facebook and do that search. He put up a great little write-up about light gear that I highly recommend checking out. One more bit of housekeeping. I am pretty seriously considering moving us from Patreon to our own subscription service on the website. Now, we've put a lot of effort into Patreon. We've got a lot of Patreon supporters. This would be a kind of a big and somewhat risky move in terms of, I would really want everybody to transfer over. A lot of you that listen to other podcasts probably heard about, there's been a bit of a debacle there with Patreon with free speech. They banned quite a few what are considered kind of alt-right or very conservative artists. I don't want to get into that debate whatsoever. I mean, I think that there's, free speech versus, hate stuff and alt-right. I mean, anyway, I don't want to get into that. I think free speech is really important, but I also think that, maybe there shouldn't be platforms for crazies, but I don't know any of these folks that were banned. I don't listen to any of their stuff. I don't have an opinion on that whatsoever, but I do read our exit surveys, and the big one that tends to, people sign up and they stay with us for a little while. And then especially the folks that aren't based in the US, they're paying quite a bit of tax, and the fees through Patreon. So in other words, the money that gets to me is quite a bit less through them than other routes like PayPal and stuff. So, and PayPal's still pretty big for fees. So I know all of you that are listening to the podcast that want to support it, you want the money to go to the creator. You want it to go to us and not to these platforms. So we've looked into options. There's some other platforms. They cost me money, but they would cost you very little. And I think that's going to, in the long run, that's going to be the better way to go, because Patreon for us, really, we keep growing our numbers, but the amount of support kind of stays the same, because a lot of people will sign up at 10 or 20 or 5. And then after a few months, they realize that, they're looking at the receipts going, not a lot is, some of this is too much of this is getting taken away. Again, especially if you're not in the States. And most of our listeners are not in the States. They're mostly Europe, Australia, New Zealand, other parts of the world. So I think this is a good move. If you don't like this idea, get a hold of me. Come to the website, just send me an email, and maybe of something else that works better. But I'm going to be basically following what I've seen a lot of other artists do, like Sam Harris did recently. He chucked Patreon, and you can just now subscribe through his site, which I've done, and a lot more of the money goes to him. And I'm basically going to follow the same. They're basically just plugins for WordPress. We can do our own credit card processing. There are fees there, but they're a lot less, and in some cases less than PayPal as well. So I think this is a good solution. It will only work, of course, if all of you that are on Patreon switch over, but I'll update this more on the next show. It's going to take quite a bit of work, IT stuff in the background, but I think we can make it happen, and I think it's going to be a much better solution for everybody. We just want to make sure that transition is smooth. Let's get into the show. This was recorded again live down in Colombia. I'm now back home now. That's why the sound here is better, but the sound for the show is going to be filled with birds and dogs and other stuff, other Colombian background noises. But as always, Miles has done his magic, and we won't be too bothered with that. But I sat down with Annalena Hinestroza, Ernesto's wife. They just had a little baby. You all know their names. Ernesto and Annalena have been crushing on the comp circuit for an awfully long time. Ernesto's he's just fantastic. He's got so much personality. I loved flying with him the last couple of weeks down at the British Open. Annalena had the child duties for this one. They go back and forth on that. So we talk about, how things have changed once you have a baby. But we talk about her predilection for flying 3-liners instead of 2-liners, and she crushes on those, so that's pretty fun. And I also asked her a question that I've asked other of our women guests on the show about, what she thinks why are there so few women in the sport? And I threw one at her that I think kind of got her, and she wasn't really able to answer here, so I wanted to answer live, and she thought about it after we stopped recording, and I'd like to just maybe fill in those blanks. I hope I do it justice, but basically I said, I said, well, do you have to be a really strong, independent woman to be a paraglider? And I brought up some people like Isabella that, that to me are, we've also had on the show, who are, really strong-minded women. And I thought, is that one of the factors? Is that a requisite for being a woman pilot? And it kind of stumped her, and she thought about it, and I don't think she really liked her answer. At this point, I don't remember what it was, but I remember we talked about it afterwards, and she said, I'm just a regular woman, so no, I don't think so. I think, it's just the numbers, and it's just the reality of it, and the risk, and maybe having kids certainly has a factor in that. Adele had some great thoughts on that. That's also a great show. Go back and check that out. So anyway, I don't think we really came up with a very good answer. I think it was one that kind of stumped Annalena. I don't have an answer either. One to explore with future shows, but I just wanted to let you know that we did talk about that afterwards, and didn't really come up with an answer. But great gal, and awesome pilot, and super inspiring, and it's really fun to meet their little kid who they're taking all over the world. These guys travel a ton to fly, and I was really inspired by this, so I think you're going to enjoy this talk. So without further delay, please enjoy Annalena Hinestroza. Annalena, thanks so much for coming on the Mayhem. We're going to be bombarded here with construction and trucks and chickens and roosters and very Colombian noises, but I think this will be fun, but I appreciate the time.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah.
It's like typical Colombian morning. The mornings are great here.
Yeah, they are great. Yeah, well, we've had our coffee and our orange juice, so we're all ramped up and ready to go. Where I thought we'd start, I just kind of throwing this out you're unprepared, but tell me your most favorite flying story. What comes to mind when you think about flying? And it doesn't need to necessarily be yours. It could be Ernesto's, your husband's, or something else, but I know you learned in Venezuela, but what's something that comes to mind when you think about flying that you want to share?
I had one perfect flying day, I remember, out here in Colombia in 2015, I remember. And it was just such a typical, beautiful, emotional day. At first, we went up to Los Tanques in this bus. How is it called? Chiva. This open, colorful bus. And already the ride up to takeoff was an adventure. And on the ride up, I saw in the forest a toucan, a really beautiful bird I really like. And just seeing this toucan was such a good experience, I don't know. And then I had a really beautiful flight, obviously. And with the flats tumbling with the birds, everything perfect. It was just such a nice flight. And in the end, I landed close to a papaya field, here close to Roldanillo. And I don't know, just landing there, I saw a huge blue butterfly. I know this from Venezuela already. It's just such a beautiful butterfly, brilliant blue, and you really barely see it. And that was such a perfect, experience as well. It's just everything was in a flow. And after I had packed my paraglider, a lady came from the farm to help me to get out, to get the right way. And she gave me a papaya. She just handed it over to me. And at home, having this papaya, it was the best papaya I ever had. It was so perfectly, this fruit. And this was like a perfect flying day for me, not just in the air, but also on the ground. And, when you feel the connection with nature and, all the beauties that are out there, I really remember.
The cloud flying here is extraordinary, isn't it? It's just unbelievable. I had some moments yesterday just surfing up the sides of these clouds and just kind of in and out of the mist. It was just...
You're right. Especially also in competition flying out here in Colombia, when you are waiting for the start 1 hour, cloud surfing, soaring the clouds, getting close, feeling it. You really can see them out here. You can see the clouds forming. It's special.
Yeah, it is special, isn't it? No, it's really nice. We talked a little bit before we were hitting the record button on how you got into flying. Can you share that story again in Venezuela and meeting Ernesto and all that?
Of course, sure. For me, it's been quite a long way to become a pilot. I met my husband in 2007 in Venezuela. He used to be a tandem pilot. And we flew a lot tandem by that time. I used to live there for university exchange. And he took me a lot to fly around all Venezuela. I loved it. I wanted to become a paraglider. But actually, he did tell me that he won't learn me how to fly before I stop or before I finish university, because he said, you will be too addicted to go on with your career. So from then on, we've been tandem flying and we started ground handling a lot. Also because of money-wise, it was difficult to to get the equipment. So for the next year and a half, 2 years, we've been practicing a lot on the ground together. He showed me a lot. But in the end, we took every possibility in Germany, every little field that was good to do some practice. And in the end, after finishing my career, we went back to Venezuela in 2009, and there I became a pilot doing my first flights from altitude.
And was that in Caracas?
Close to. There's a German village called Colonia Tovar. And in between there and Caracas, there's a famous flying spot called Placibel. There's that's the spot where my husband also started paragliding. And in the end, he didn't want to give me the final degree. And his instructor, Orlando Layton, famous teacher from Venezuela, he finished my degree with the altitude flights over there.
One of the coolest landings I ever saw was in Valle. A bunch of us tried to cut the corner on the convergence. I think this was in like 2013. It was a World Cup somewhere, and Carlos came in. He bombed out with us, and he would I've seen flapping, and this was like flapping at a whole nother level. Like he would basically tail slide almost the glider and then let it go, and then tail slide and let it go, and just helicoptered like a helicopter, just landed around the ground. And I was like, Carlos, man, that was amazing. Where did you learn how to do that? And he said, flying in Caracas, because all the fields are surrounded by fences and barbed wire and all this stuff. And it was, man, he had impressive landing skills. This was before I got into the X Alps, and I was like, I need to learn how to do that. That is impressive.
That's Oripoto. It's a flying site directly in the city of Caracas. I think they're not flying there anymore, but they got a new one. And actually, the site where I learned to fly, Placibel, it's a tiny valley, and you have a mountain rib in the middle where you take off, and the landing is just a couple of 100 meters. It's not much, maybe 300 meters down, and the landing is like a top landing spot. And you also have fences, and you get huge active thermals at that place. So you really learn to top land in a thermic area.
Right. Wow.
But it's the official landing, because further down, where they used to land before, it got all constructed. So there's barely no landing left. So you need to make it back up, actually, to land in this place. And I remember there we've been competing a lot in this space in this area. Many times you also make just like slope landings if you don't reach this top landing, official landing anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Good X-Alps training.
I had in the first years of my career, I had really good exercise and for takeoff and landing. I remember. Now, the last years actually flying much more in the Alps. It's been becoming much, not easier, but more official, I would say, like this perfect takeoff and landings we have over there.
So were those first years, was most of the training, like when you learned how to fly and you're flying solo now and stuff, was it mostly done in Germany or was it done in Venezuela? Because I understand you were kind of splitting your time.
Yeah, we've been traveling a lot all these last 10 years. So we used to spend summer in Germany. First in Füssen, in the Alpine side, and then in Garmisch. So there I've been flying a lot also and training a lot, but also it's been a time of much work. And then we spent the winters in Venezuela, where I really had much more time for flying, and we flew all the time, just like flight addicts. And also we spent one winter in Nepal, where we really got a lot of airtime.
And were you doing any bivvy in Nepal or were you mostly just flying there? And
Actually not. At that time, I was not interested into this, and I was just so into cross-country flying. I started doing my first cross-country flights, and my husband was working as a tandem pilot, so we stick to Pokhara all the time. And I made my rounds around the Green Wall, having all this also special experiences with the, I don't know if you've flown the Green Wall, but there you think you see a terminal, the trees moving, and then when you get there, you just recognize that there are monkeys.
Whoa,
on the trees.
no
And this is
way.
also such a special experience over there. But it works very well, the Green Wall. It's such nice, smooth terminals, and it's perfect for landing because Nepal, there's almost no wind in the air, but also for landing and takeoff, it's perfect for a beginner's cross-country pilot,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why beer's gotten so popular.
Yeah,
It's
beer's
amazing.
also,
You fly into these deep mountains and there's no wind.
Yeah.
I'm not where we're from. We deal with a lot of wind in the Rockies, and it's just the first time I went there, I was with Eddie and John and Jim, the Himalayan Sky Safaris guys from the UK, and following John Sylvester around was like, we're going to go in there? What are we doing? And then there wouldn't be any wind. It was just amazing.
Yeah.
Nepal is similar in terms of the lack of wind.
Yeah, it's just a bit more. It's more easy because the mountains are not that
big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's more open. I remember also for landing, beer is great, but I really felt like small going into this big, deep mountains. Also, it's working. Yeah, as you say, there's no wind and the terminals are there. So it's working, but you feel like really small in this big mountain.
And how did you get into competing? And if we're skipping some big aspect, take me there. But when did you start competing, and how did that all happen?
In 2012 in Nepal, actually.
Okay.
Our friends, Jessica, Isabella, and so the American girls,
Yeah.
Jamie Messenger, they took us to Nepal to live there. And we know them from Germany, because in Germany we used to live at the same summer flying site. They took us to Nepal, and then we already spent there a couple of months, me training my XC. And then there was this Russian Open, and after the Nepal Open, and they said, yeah, come Annalena, you can do that. Join us. I had at that time, a Sea Glider I just got new. And that's how I started to compete. They showed me everything, and it was just a great experience. All our friends were around, and It was fun. It was huge fun, great fun.
Learning under the guidance of Jamie Messenger is
Yeah.
that's pretty valuable.
Yeah.
That guy's a Jedi.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
amazing.
Great pilot.
Yeah,
Incredible. Yeah.
great pilot. Fantastic. And you liked it.
Yeah.
You enjoyed competing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was fun.
Yeah.
And I could learn so much and enjoy so much, and we were all together and having a good time. And after, we went all back together to Germany, and there were the next competitions, weekend competitions, league competitions, and all of us
German competition.
German.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden we were into competition.
You said you were near Garmisch. So is Vank the main site?
Actually, yes, Vank, especially in spring and autumn. And then Osterfeld is called the other side. So we are directly in Garmisch, living there.
Oh.
You know from the exams.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I know
the
it well.
Zugspitz. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have quite a couple of takeoffs around.
That line between Aschau and Lermoos is unbelievable. It is so spectacular. It's just amazing in there. You're in like such a you're in a part of the Alps where there's lots of people, in Garmisch and Aschau and Chiemsee and that whole area, and then you get into those mountains and you feel like you're in the end of the world.
Yes.
There's not much in there.
And it's really difficult to fly there.
Yeah, it's true. It's tough.
It's tricky.
It is really neat, though. It's beautiful.
There's this huge area. It's called Karwende. It's really special. It's a protected area. That's why also,
Yeah.
It's a beautiful protected area in the middle of the Alps.
Yeah,
it's also great for mountain biking, hiking, everything.
I'm sure. It's a gorgeous area. I'd love to talk to you guys at some point about, there seem to be some pretty interesting convergence lines that set up through there too, and with the Bavarian winds coming in, and then depending on the time of the day. But I have often had a lot of trouble with that transition between there's a big Mitter something. So just east of Garmisch, there's a little town at the base of those big those big mountains, and from there to the Zugspitze, I've often had a really hard time with that transition, and Kriegel just nails it every time.
But we've been watching Kriegel from ground, and he's done some lines nobody else has done before there. First of all, because I remember at the last don't know which exams, if it's been 4 years ago or more, it's been lots of west wind.
Yeah.
That much west wind that we usually wouldn't take off. And seeing Kriegel coming into Garmisch, jumping from back there where there's no landings from the Rheintal, and then just being at the right spot at the right time, where at the end of the day there's still a little bit of sun hitting the rocks, and then managing to just fly around this Zugspitz. Massive. So it's been crazy, and it's really not easy, this part, because you can take the south rocks just to the south of Garmisch, the Wettestein, but then there was the rule you have to fly around go around the Zugspitz on the northern side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then in between this Karwendel I told and the Garmisch rocks and mountains, there's like a valley that is not easy to connect because it's really wide. You've seen between the Vank and the Wettestein, so it's not easy to take the right route, and most pilots have been walking.
I've done plenty of walking in there.
And the weather is also tricky, to get a good day.
It can be a really tricky area, but man, it's beautiful. That's a nice part of the world to train, I'm sure, to fly and to also live. Cool. So you start competing. You're enjoying that. You're doing league back in Germany. Let's wait for this truck to go by. When does UP come into the equation, and is that years down the road here, or when?
Actually,
I guess take me through some more of your progression.
Actually, coming back from Nepal in 2012, We went back to our summer place in Füssen at that time. And I've been doing many different works for a couple of years after university. I've been working with tour operators in South America, helping, with translations, organization. I've been working in a climbing area, like a climbing park. I've been working in the flying school. My husband was working as tandem pilot. I've been working as a waitress. I've been many different things just to get money and to keep on traveling. But coming back from Nepal, there was just such a point that I didn't want to anymore. I had a job that was really hard, and I just decided to quit. Like a waitress, that was my main income. And I just decided to quit and was searching for something new. It was not really easy because this little village, there was not so much work offer for me as professional. So I thought going into hotels or whatever, or keep on with the flying school, etc. And then, by chance, coming back from Nepal, I wanted to change my glider, and I got a Trango, UP Trango, and I really fell in love with this glider. And to afford it, I asked the company how we can do, if I can pay in parts or whatever. I really liked the wing, I wanted, but then I just quit my job. And by chance, they told me, UP is searching for a professional. And I thought, oh, that sounds nice. Maybe you want to have my documents. And I sent my documents to UP. And a couple of days later, I was starting working there.
Wow.
So, and then we moved to Garmisch.
Is UP in Garmisch?
Yeah, UP is the headquarters in Garmisch.
Oh, wow.
So in 2012, I started working with them since now.
Wow, cool. And then are you involved in the development side at all, or what
No,
do you do for them?
No. I'm doing now marketing and international sales.
Okay.
So right now I'm working less. I'm working part-time. After I had the baby, I quit for a while and just came back in September this last year, 2018. And I've been doing a bit of everything, but mostly office work, of course. Yeah, I'm managing the team pilots, the German-speaking team pilots, doing the marketing thing. I'm the contact person for the magazines. I'm with the web page, social media, etc., etc., and in contact with all the UP dealers and importers worldwide. Yeah.
Sounds fun. I bet it's interesting to see it from that side of the fence.
It's been like my dream work.
Oh, cool.
And paragliding, since I started paragliding, life was just moving. It's been in a good flow. For sure, there's been difficult times as well, as always, but it's been in the total paragliding direction, I would say. And I love my work,
Has your travel all these years with Ernesto and now your baby, is it all pretty much oriented around flying? Is it always flying trips you guys are going to do? Or it sounds like more, it's not really so much trips, it's more living. You go to a place, you live for a while. Yeah.
It's been always around paragliding. We went for a long time to Nepal, to Venezuela for the whole winter. Then, as I started to work with UP, it became a bit less or shorter times, but still always with paragliding. And we start to fly World Cups. So we went to India, Brazil, Mexico for World Cup. So it's been competition combined with flying, but for a couple of years in between, I would say 2013 to 17, it's been World Cups mostly. And now we are coming back for longer times to pass winters in Colombia. mostly.
And has there ever been, like a difference in the passion between you and Ernesto? And there have been times where maybe he's not as excited about it, or you're not as excited about it, or how does it work quite well with you guys all the time, or are there times where it's like, well, I don't know?
No, it's been working well all the time,
Wow,
actually.
great.
It's just now I stopped competition flying 2 years ago. I did my last competition here in Colombia in 2017. And then with our baby, actually, we kept on traveling a lot in Europe as well as in the winters. And now I'm joining him to the competition.
And you stopped competing because you got pregnant?
Yeah.
Okay. And then do you see yourself getting back into it?
Actually, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm really enjoying flying. I've been flying all this time. After my baby was born, I started to fly again 6 weeks after. But I then flew a low B glider for a while because, it's just been more easy, lightweight equipment, 8 kilos. It's been perfect.
Yeah.
So I wasn't thinking about competition flying, and I just got back on my Tango here in Colombia now, 2 weeks ago, and I fell in love by the first flight. I was a bit scared, I was curious how it would be to get back, and I was just happy. But I feel life is now so busy with all this family thing and the baby, and I'm not really thinking about competition, to be honest. I'm not missing it, For sure I can imagine coming back, but I don't know when. I see in World Cups I've seen many women that have already grown up, kids or men that are much older than me, or that are already in their 50s, 60s. So I think there's no hurry to come back. If I would enjoy, I can come back after.
It's the nice
now,
thing about
whatever.
this sport,
the
isn't
sport is great. You can enjoy it all your life, But you need to be calm and be honest to yourself and keep it safe.
So you have a little boy, 16 months old. Do you see, what's his name?
Lucas.
Do you see him becoming a pilot?
Might be, he's already climbing a lot and interested into the sky. But I'm not sure. It's difficult to see. But 2 days ago, we went out to the balcony of our apartment here in Roldanillo, and before I could see, he already saw a glider landing in the stadium, and he said, "Papa, Papa." So he's really recognizing it already, and he's been at the landings the whole summer. We spent with the bicycle, going to the landing home, and he's been seeing and watching gliders all the time.
So as a mom, the risk side of it, you feel like that could be managed, and this is really on my mind right now because there's been so many accidents this year, and it just seems like, I don't know, it seems like that's every year. But it's the reason I asked too is I have an 18-month-old little girl.
Nice.
So very similar. Well, she was with us in Valle the last couple of weeks. I was up there for a couple comps, and same thing. She spots paragliders like birds. She's just like, paraglider. She doesn't say paraglider, but she's definitely kind of figured it out and is enthralled by the whole thing. And but I wonder, I think it's the kind of thing, if she shows interest in it, of course, I will support it. But I was like, I wouldn't be like mom's not interested in it at all. I've taken her on a couple tandems, and she's just like, yeah, whatever. And it was always for me like, great, perfect.
The risk thing, okay, I think before he would start paragliding, there would pass many years.
Yeah.
But the risk thing for me flying, for sure, it is there in my mind all the time, and I'm really thinking about. But to be honest, I've been enjoying every single flight I've been doing since he was born. And it was good for me also mentally. I don't know, I feel happy after flying, but I really feel that I need to be super careful also with my emotions and with all the surroundings. And to get sure about first of all, conditions, because okay, the equipment is checked, the equipment is good. That's not the problem, I
Yeah.
think. But the conditions are the thing. The conditions is what is I need to be most careful about. Like my last flight here 3 days ago, it was really strong, really strong. It was, and I've heard about a couple of incidents. And for me, in this flight in the mountains, I really could not enjoy that much. And I was thinking, what to do. And the people kept on going in the mountains, and I just left to the valley alone, because I said, I'm not needing to make XC points or compete. I need just to enjoy this flight, and that's what I'm up in the air for. And I left for the flats, and it was a beautiful flight in the flats. It was really tricky conditions, really short cycles. Inversion, and I got a beautiful low safe in the middle of the valley. While I was there, I was thinking, okay, I'm crazy, but I thought no worries. There are huge landing spots everywhere. If I'm careful, I can land everywhere if I'm aware about that. The landing is getting the most important part for me now.
Yeah.
To think about a good landing and where. But I thought, however, my baby is fine with his father and his grandmother back home. So if it would take me to walk out 2 hours, it's
Big deal.
no big deal. I can manage, and I just can land wherever I want. I just need to be really sure about a good landing.
What do you mean by being careful with your emotions?
After having a baby, in my case, you get really emotional about everything.
Yeah.
More than before, I feel.
Yeah,
And paragliding is a strong emotion in all directions.
Yeah, sure.
Negative as well as positive, and it's strong emotion. And also I think I need to be careful, because you can get so easily so addicted to paragliding. So I try to calm myself down and to not go too far. So I decided for myself, the first cross-country flight I made here, I went to La Union and back. And then the next one, I made the bigger route to La Victoria, Sarcelles and back. And I decided to keep it going slowly, to fly more slowly, because friends were asking, why didn't you go on flying or kept on flying with us? And I said, it's no need. I need to get used again. I need to build up resistance for flying. I haven't been doing big cross-country flights for years, and so I really want to get into it slowly, and not because I'm so emotional or happy by turning these great terminals, to just keep on going without taking care about my energy level, That's what I mean about taking care about my emotions. To just realize that I should take it slowly.
You mentioned you spend a lot of time with Jessica Love and Isabella Messenger, as you've spent all this time in Nepal. I love them so much.
Me too.
When I think of Isabella and Jessica, I think of big, strong personalities. Do you think that that's the question I want to ask is, why are there so few women in the sport? And do you think that the people like you that are strong and independent, and what kind of woman is attracted to paragliding?
Well, that's a difficult question. I think many women could be attracted. It's just so important that you have a good start into the sport, that you can feel you can manage, and it's important to have lots of practice at the beginning, lots of practice, and that you feel you can do it. It's a lot about, you talk and think about the sport and the risks. Many, without trying it, just think it's dangerous, and that's why they won't try it. But I think, there's so many businesswomen out there running businesses or whatever. So there could be more women running, well, not running, but paragliding. It's not that women couldn't do that, but maybe they don't know they can do it. So it's a question for me really difficult to answer. What kind of woman?
Do you think that you and not by just you, I mean you and Isabella and Jessica and other women that are good in the sport and have had long careers in it and really enjoy it, do you think you have a different kind of risk tolerance than most women, than other women, or do you think it's more just that for whatever reason you guys got into it with great partners maybe and that helped?
For sure. To have a partner that shows you that you can do it and that gives you the confidence is very important, actually, for me. Yeah, to know you can do it. Maybe a problem also could be that still having so many men around in the sports can be for women intimidating, you know, because we are taking another, we are thinking maybe differently about flying, risk. We are not that competitive, I think.
Yeah.
In the end, there are women competing really well.
Sure.
But yeah, all this after a flight, all this talking about flying, it's also different for women. The feelings, we are very emotional, and it's not so much talking about who's better or battling each other, but it's more about the experiences we have up there. Yeah.
That's interesting you say that. I follow Isabella on Instagram, and it's it really is. It seems to be more about the experience and the I don't know. It's more of a holistic view, I think, that women have of it, rather than the competition and the distance and the X contest and the goals and the marks and the, you know what I mean? It's men are very competitive.
Yeah, more, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. But there are competitive women, and there are great women out there competing.
Sure.
Last year Super Final here in Colombia, there's been 2 women in top 10.
Yeah.
This was so awesome. I'm so happy seeing them.
Awesome. That was awesome. Yeah.
So we can compete and we can be great pilots and be there on top. But maybe it's just a different way to get into, or to,
Having Lucas, has it changed your desire for the sport, your passion for the sport? Is it whether you talk about it? You talked about it making, definitely you're assessing risk more conservatively, but have there been other changes?
For sure, I'm not so crazy about flying anymore, to be honest. I feel like I need to get into the air every once in a while, because it makes me, I relax. I can free my mind. I after landing, I'm happy. I'm full charged again. But I'm not like I need to fly all the time. I don't have this feeling. I have a feeling of when everything comes together and the situation is perfect. I've got a babysitter, or Ernesto's on the ground, or the conditions are perfect. The day is good, and I have energy. I'm waking up or getting into the day with energy. Then I feel like, okay, now I go flying. But I don't have this feeling anymore of I need to fly more, But I'm enjoying every single flight. Yeah.
You said it's really important for women to get into it the right way. What does that mean? How do you get into the sport the right way?
Slowly and without incidents, and with confidence. And I think the most important is to do Well, in my experience, I did lots of ground handling for years, actually. And I think this is so important because watching the flying sites, I've been living in Germany, Garmisch and also Füssen, it's just so tricky takeoffs. And I think if I would have done a classical career in a school, flying school, it might have been not enough for me, because after a couple of days at the training hill, getting up to these mountains and take off by myself, I think I wouldn't have done it, maybe, because I think many women or pilots just start and then quit because they can't get the confidence. And in my case, I was really lucky because I had hours of tandem flying, of cross country flying, of ground handling. So my first altitude flight, I made it backwards, and I felt so confident about me handling the glider that I didn't think about, oh, I'm now flying from a high mountain, you know. But if I think I would have done it after a couple of hours at the hill, then forward launching into the first time into nothing, I think I would have been scared. You know,
Yeah.
I
So
think this
get
is
that foundation.
yeah. I think the sport is, you can have a good you can manage the glider well, and it's about technique and practice. But yeah, for sure, the traditional school teaching is you get on a mountain quite quick, and then I don't know how would be the feeling to take off then without having this glider control, I don't know.
What would you say to a pilot, a pretty new pilot that's maybe thinking about getting into competitions? What would you say just in general about competitions? What to be excited about? What to be maybe a little more nervous about? What to be careful about? Maybe a little bit of thoughts on equipment.
Yeah, for sure, equipment is very, very important. Having the right glider. You can fly competition on a B glider and a C glider, so it's not important to have the machine. To have the right equipment for your skills. Harness is very important. To the right combination of harness and glider, and for sure rescue, the instruments, everything. Radio is important. I think for new competition pilots, it's important to know what she wants with this competition flying. I think it's a great way to learn, to improve XC skills. The most important thing is not to want to win, by starting competition. That's not the thing. It's, you need to learn, and there's so much to learn about in competition to be efficient. That's what I like most about competition flying, this feeling of efficient flying, climbing well, then knowing where to climb, when to leave a climb, taking the right line to fly efficiently. That's how you fly fast. Huh? So, and you learn this by competing, by watching, by joining. You need to be very attentive. No, watching around. It's very important to be careful with that many pilots around and to be relaxed.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. If you can relax terminaling with so many pilots, you're all right.
Yeah.
If you feel nervous still by terminaling with so many pilots, maybe you need to just practice more terminaling and flying. But when you're that comfortable flying, terminaling with many pilots, you can be in the competition and then just, slowly, learn slowly, as always. There's so much time you have for flying. So slowly, and then the first goal is to improve your flying. So it's not important to come into goal. The most important is always, as I said before now, is to have a safe landing.
Yeah.
after a safe start. So in competition flying, you can easily get into this racing mode and forget about the landing, but you need to be careful about the landing spot. Yeah. So
I had this very interesting, wasn't really a realization, it's just something but to see it visually every day. In Valle, Josh Cohn, who's an amazing
yeah.
competition pilot and has been winning forever, and is usually the one who's going to win Valle or the Monarca. I mean, he's always at the top. This year they had a little baby a few months ago, and he was flying the Omega X Alps. So most of the top end comp pilots were on the Enzo, and I'm flying the Evox now. But most of the top 20, of course, top 30 were on CCC gliders, and Josh was on a pretty reasonable D and three liner, and we really had a hard time shaking him. I mean, at every glide you'd pull away, and then he'd be there again because he's picking better lines and he's a better climber, and it made me a lot more conscious of what I see that has been frustrating me in the last couple of years is people that are coming up and getting better and going to comps, they get frustrated by the glide difference. If they're on a C or they're on a low end D, and they want to move up too fast, and they see that and they go, I got to get an Enzo, and I got to get a better glider to keep up with you guys. And I think that's such a huge mistake because they don't have the hours, they don't have the time. And if they had an Enzo, they're still not going to win. They've got a better tool. They've got a a better glider in terms of speed and glide, but they're not going to win. They don't have the experience. And how you get the experience is like you said, is getting the hours and the time on a lower end glider and getting really good. Becoming a Josh Cohn on another glider and being able to keep up. And then you've got the time and the the SIV experience, the whole thing. You're a more complete pilot, and it's frustrating to me to see so many people coming up so quickly, to a hotter glider that they're really not ready for.
yeah, but there are also a couple of serial class competitions around. You could join,
Yeah.
or you could think about the flying sites, because there's some flying sites that it's not so important. The glider, Yeah, but usually pilots want to be there for sure. It's not too nice always bombing out, or it's frustrating, as you say, not to have the same speed and glide. But I remember my first comp here in Colombia in 2015. It was like that. I felt like, okay, I'm on my triangle. I didn't know anything about flatland flying because I'm used to the alpine flying, and it was just like, okay, I'm here bombing out many times. I don't understand, but okay, I keep on flying. And then the last comp I've been doing in 2017 here, it was the best comp of my life. I still had my Trango. No, I changed from X-rays, from XC3 to X-rays, so a bit better glider, but still a Trango. And it's been 2 years in between these comps, and I just loved this competition, and I had much more skills, and I could keep on even with the Cinos at that time. I came into goal 10 minutes after, and I was so happy because during the flight I could keep up quite well with them when it was a strong day with good conditions.
Yeah.
And then just on the final part. So in between these 2 years of experience of competition flying, the first year here in Colombia, bombing out all the time, and then 2 years after, keeping up with the Cinos on my Tango, it was
That's
a huge
rewarding.
difference, but that's why it's worth it. Keep on going,
Yeah, that. There's a lot of reward in that. You're feeling like I'm doing
Yeah,
better. I'm flying better.
you're learning all the time, and you never stop learning, and that's the beauty of about the sport as well.
When you look back at your flying career, if you could go back to your 50-hour self, so you rewind to that first year, you're just learning and you're very new. If you could change anything, what would you change?
I think the most important is to know when you're getting tired. I had two experiences, one in a SIV and one coming into goal in the competitions, when I realized I was exhausted. So to know when to land and to know when to stop the day, After 5, 7 flights in SIV, you just might be too tired to keep on flying. So there have been these experiences I had that I would say, calm down and just, again, slowly.
Yeah, take
Go
it
on
easy.
slowly, take it easy. And if you are exhausted, tired, stop for the day.
In all your travels, you guys wandering around the world for these last 10 years, 12 years, what's the place you get most excited to fly? Like if you could go anywhere right now, I know you're in Colombia, which is one of your favorites, and that might be the favorite, but where
Right.
would you go?
I would go to India again, beer.
Yeah, beer's
I
pretty
love this
special, isn't it?
place. It's been great. But also Brazil. Brazil, we've been to Castelo, but again, it depends on the experience you have and the conditions you get at the time you are. We've been to Castelo in this year, I think 2016, and it's been perfect. It's been the other best comp of my life, where I kept in the World Cup, where I kept up with the two liners quite well still. Because we had this bombastic conditions, beautiful place in Castello, flatlands again, and with this crazy hills. It's just,
I've seen pictures. It's beautiful.
it's crazy. It's beautiful, and all the lifestyle people, food. It's been great.
When you look back at your comp flying, was there a moment or a time that you can really identify that you kind of made a leap, like something clicked and something, like, oh, I figured this out. Was it a strategy change? Was it a thermaling technique? Was it sniffing out better lines? Was there something that like an aha moment in your comp career?
Yeah, the line things. That's most important. I think when I
The
just
what?
the line flying, when
Flying lines.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
when I
Finding
realized
lines.
what means flying lines, what everybody's talking about, you know,
Mm.
or to use the accelerator right, to have efficient crossings, valley crossings, or line flying, because it's quite easy to become a good or thermal flyer, to be quick in climbing and on top of the stack and to be good positioned. But then the jump to become a good navigation pilot, to navigate the sky. This has been quite a while to get this feeling under the glider, to how to fly out the lines, especially here in the flats, for example. Because if you also in the Alps, if you make a big valley crossing, just pushing the bar like crazy, losing all your height, no, it's not working. You need to take the best line to make the best crossing compared to the other pilot.
This is something that I've never had a guest really be able to articulate how to do. Can you explain how to do that, or is it just feel?
It's feel for sure. It's for sure different on a two-liner. I never flew two-liner, so all my competition and World Cup flying I did on a three-liner. But I did it because I enjoyed. For sure, there could have been the time then to change, but then I became a baby. But on the freeliner still, it's a feel you need to relax, to lay back in your harness, and feel and take the C or B risers, and then let the glider go. Let the glider go and feel it, and watch the clouds, the birds, the other pilots around. Yeah.
Yeah, I've just I feel like I've had a kind of a personal breakthrough in the last year with lines, and it was, for me, it was backing off, not hammering speed so much. I mean, especially in comps. In the X Alps, it's all about staying in the air. You just have to stay up. But I've learned more in the comps now to back off a little bit on the lines, because it's easier to feel when you're not using as much speed, and it's easier to let the glider do its thing, and that has really helped. But I think that when you see the pilots that really find good lines, it's almost like magic.
Yeah, there's some really birds out there.
Yeah,
Some
exactly.
pilots. Oof.
Exactly.
Yeah. My husband, actually, I've been following him a lot and thinking, how can he do? How is he doing? Or Xavier Bonnet. How many?
Yeah.
There are many pilots to name.
Chevy's amazing.
Ooh,
Yeah.
he will be here.
Yeah.
The next days.
I'll be following him quite a bit, I'm sure, if I can. Yeah, he's amazing. He's amazing. Any last bit of advice for specifically females, either getting into the sport or kind of at the learning stage? Any last bit of maybe something to avoid or something to look out for, or like you talked about, and Isabella actually talked about that on the podcast we did with her, the intimidation factor on launch. Are there any kind of headspace things that have helped you?
Yeah. Do your thing and be confident with yourself. You can do it. You don't have to show anybody. Practice a lot. Practice a lot on your glider skills, ground handling skills, and for sure there will always be moments or comments that can frustrate you or intimidate you. But no, don't take don't hear too much. And if you're not sure about something, ask the others. There are many women around. Ask them how they are feeling, how they are doing. Keep in contact. Make your flying group, and keep it slowly again, and think about what you really want, and enjoy. And be honest to yourself. And if there's a moment you don't enjoy, think about how you can improve the situation.
Great. Well, I think that's a perfect place to end. Annalena, thank you so much. I can't wait to compete with your husband next week. Are you going to do the comp?
No,
Okay.
I'll be on the ground. I'm the ground support.
The ground support.
For sure, I will go to take off one day with my baby and watch you.
Awesome.
I wish you a great comp.
Thank you very much. Well, I appreciate it. And thanks for your time and the coffee and the orange juice. And we'll see you on launch.
Thank you for your invitation.
I hope you enjoyed that. Always fun to sit down with these great pilots in different parts of the world. Super inspiring. As always, all we ask for is $1 a show. If you're getting something out of the Cloud-Based Mayhem, there are many ways you can support it, either financially, through PayPal, and soon to be just directly through our website. We'll have details of that up pretty soon. But if you can't support us financially, we totally understand. This will remain free as long as we can do it. But you can support it in many other ways. You can give us a rating on iTunes or Stitcher or however you listen to your podcast. That really goes a long ways. You can blog about it on your own blog. You can post about it on social media, share it with your friends, talk about it on the way to launch. I know many of you are doing that. I really appreciate it. And another way you can support us is through our store. We've just got a whole new load of awesome Patagonia t-shirts for men and women, and a whole new box of super styly trucker hats by Recaps. Each one is totally unique. Got a whole bunch more colors that seem to be more in favor. So go to cloudbasemayhem.com, click on the store link, and get some cool swag. That's another great way to support the show. But yeah, get behind us. We're doing this directly just through you instead of sponsors, because I just can't stand having that whole sponsor thing at the top of the show. And I want you to know that it's an authentic conversation, and it's just opinions, and they're not being skewed by advertising dollars, which I think is a pretty toxic thing that's going on right now globally with all the stuff going on with Facebook and others. So anyway, we'd like to do it direct. We appreciate your support, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.